Let us look at functions, everyone. Now, why we want to use a function, which we have been doing so far, is because we are encapsulating a piece of code which I can reuse multiple times and I can keep different arguments in it. Let me give you an example. As a function, and I'm just going to call this, let's just say function name, then we can have multiple arguments in it. For example, I can have argument 1, argument 2, and argument 3. What this means is that this is the code which will be executed when the function is called, or we can call it an invoke. So when we are invoking or calling the function, the 3 arguments are available so that I can do some stuff inside the function. Then finally, we have the return clause, right? Something we haven't done so far, and we have some answer here. So we're invoking the function or calling the function. The 3 arguments will do something inside the function and it will return an answer. That's the traditional function declaration syntax. Okay. Now let us start with the basic function. And this is our first function. And I simply want to write console.log and hello world. Let us save this and run this. Okay, let me comment this out. Or rather, let's select first function. That would be better. So you can see that this is the simplest way of writing it, where there aren't multiple arguments. We are simply writing a result, which is hello world. There's another way of doing this, which is called an arrow function. So now I can say that my constant, which is first function as an arrow, is equal to this. So just look at the syntax, everyone. We have the opening and closing parentheses, which was coming here as well, but we don't need the curly bracket. Since I have an equal to sign and a greater than sign, and then we can say console log and hello world. So everything comes neatly in a single line. So we select fun. Okay. In fact, let me comment this out. So as you can see, in a single line, we get the result like this. Let's also look at passing parameters into functions. So our function, let's say add function, has 2 parameters. We have number 1 and number 2. And the result that we want to return is the addition of these 2 numbers, like this. Another way of doing this would be to use arrow, where we can use a constant, which is add function arrow, and we can simply write num1 and num2, and then we say num1 plus num2, like this. Okay, now if I write console.log and we say add function, and we are keeping the parameter as 4 and 5, let's see what happens. Oh, so let me run it. So you can see we get the result as 9. Obviously, we can do this with our arrow function as well. So we have console.log and we can use add function arrow with, let's say, 5 and 6. and we're getting the result as 11. So the function is in a global space, which means that I can use them anywhere. Now let us look at calling another function. So we start by saying function, and I want to run other function, and my result is equal to add function, and we can write 190. And then we have console.log, and then answer, or rather result. And when we run this, you can see we are not getting the result. Let me just double check that. Also, we'll have to change this to run other function. Okay, and let's run it once again. So you can see that we are calling another function, which is add function, and we are adding 190. Let us now see how we can assign a function to a variable. So we have a constant, which is, let's say, mult function, and we can say that a comma b, and then equal to gradient sign a multiplied by b. Right? Very simple. Now, if I only write console.log and the function name, let's see what happens. You can see it just tells us that the function name is mult function. But if I do a logger.log, the result will be a little different. This time, the result comes as the actual parameters that we have given, right? So that's the difference between console log and logger.log. Let's also look at console.log and mult function, and then let's say 15 and 25. And this time we get the actual result, 15 into 25, which is 375. We can also pass functions as arguments to other functions. Let's see how we do that. So I'm creating a super function, and let's write fn a b, and this is equal to fn a comma b. So now when we write console log and super function, and then we're writing mult function, let's say comma 5 comma 10, you can see we get the result as 50. Now sometimes you might also want a default parameter. To do that, let me create another function with a default parameter where a is equal to 1000 and b is equal to 100, and we are returning a divided by b. So what will happen now is that if the value of a and b have not been given by the user, then the result will be derived using 1000 and 100 as the default. We could have also done this with an arrow function. So default param function arrow, and we can write here that a is equal to 100, b is equal to 10, and we can say a divided by b like this. So let me write console log default param function arrow, and let's run this. So let's select the last one and run it. And you can see the result comes as 10. So despite the fact that we have not given any parameters inside, it is taking 100. I'm sorry, it's taking 100 as A and 10 as B. So the result is 10. If we wanted to give two parameters, let's say 5 and, or let's say 520, and we run this time the result comes as 25 because it's dividing 500 by 20. Just remember, we can either give the parameter or we can leave the parameters as blank like this.